it's an honor that's long overdue. I mean, this field belongs to Skip. He's the one that made this whole phenomena of LSU baseball happen, and it's right that this field is named after him. It's a privilege and an honor for me to come to work every day and to coach on a field named after Skip Bertman. He's the greatest coach in the history of college baseball. He's influenced college baseball. His reach of influencing college baseball is so long, not only at LSU, the SEC, but across the country. And it's just an exciting night for everybody, and, not just Skip and his family, but everybody associated with LSU baseball loves LSU baseball.
Naming the field after you. Yeah, there you go. All right, back on Sports 225 with Skip Bertman, who used to always say it's Slip Bertram. was that some fan who butchered your name?
No, that was Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle?
The famous Mickey Mantle, who in 1970, when I was with the Recreation Department for the city of Miami Beach, wanted to have superstars come in, and then they would bus people from the hotels to the baseball field. And he was, of course, an idol of mine. And I just found out that Roy Hunt was his attorney, and I called him and said we'd come down. We're going to pay $1,000 a day, which in 1970 was unheard of.
Yeah.
He had just finished coaching first base for the Yankees, and he's a Triple Crown winner about 4 years before that. So people were still enthralled with him. And of course I knew of his history, but I didn't know this. I picked him up at the airport. I went to the airport and I said to the police officer there, I want to park right here, and if I bring Mickey Mantle back, will you not give me a traffic ticket? And the guy laughed and he says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 20 minutes, but if you don't come back with Mantle, I'm writing. And so I went in, sure enough, he comes out and I said, hi, Mickey, I'm Skip Bertman from the local high school running this thing. And of course, he never could quite get at what they were doing. These things were new. And he said, what's your name, Slip? Skip Bertram. And he says, Slip Bertram. Close enough. And so we get back there, and he took off with some media people, and he was at a beautiful hotel on the beach. And I called the next morning for the 1 o'clock clinic, and he hasn't checked in yet. I'm excited. I'm nervous. We got 4,000 or 5,000 people there. People taking off work, little kids in uniforms. And I had sent up and got his bats and uniforms, and he comes screeching up. And about 10 minutes to 1. He hadn't been in his, it was terrible. So he comes in and he gets his pants on, and I said, listen, all we're going to do is pitch to you, we'll do this. And I had it all planned, and I had Demi Maneri there, Paul's father, and I had Ron Frazier, I had everybody there. And the truth of it is he couldn't hit a thing, you know.
He's too hungover, too drunk?
Oh, yeah, it was awful. And but we did it for 2 more days, and boy, the people just loved him. And I won't say he was the nicest of guests that I ever had, and of course has butchered up the English language and many other things. It was kind of a disappointment for an idol of mine, but people did like it. He signed a lot of baseballs, and everything went well.
Did you get an autograph, and did you get a ticket?
No, I didn't get a ticket, and he left me a couple of baseballs and a couple of pictures that you know, I still had.
You had a house fire, like however many years
Yeah,
back.
I did.
I'm thinking you might have lost your mantle.
I did. I lost my mantles. Joe DiMaggio, which is a heck of an autograph. I lost a lot of really good stuff that I liked, and I'm kind of a mini collector. I'm not a major collector. But baseballs were big for me, so I might have had 100.
Yeah, no, you had
autographed
great
baseballs with Raleigh
Fingers
Fingers and Kurt Gibson and Nolan Ryan and everybody else. But since then, people had sent me some baseballs, and I've built it back up. So everything's okay.
I said we were going to talk about Skip Bertman Field, and we will. But since you mentioned Miami, so Skip knows this story, that I was in Miami in 1984 visiting. And I'd always wanted to see the University of Miami play a baseball game. It was early season. I happened to be down there. Went over to Coral Gables. It was a Friday night, the first game of a series against LSU. Might have been the first time the two schools had ever played. And the coach was this guy, Skip Bertman, and there was a lot of stories in the local news about the return of the favorite son, this guy. He was a legendary high school coach and then longtime assistant coach at Miami, making his very first game there. So, you know, I saw you from afar. And of course, the next, 6 months later, I moved to Baton Rouge. And so we basically got here around the same time. And, you know, in '84, your team was just okay. You competed.
That's correct.
And Alex Box was just like a little league field or whatever it was at the time. Could you have ever imagined?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
When
I really could.
Yeah.
I did come back for Ron, who's a mentor of mine, Frazier, who was into the extras of the game to get the fans out. He was wonderful, God rest his soul. And he taught me an awful lot, but not so much about baseball, but about off the field and promotions. So when I came here in '83 and '84, you know, I had a list of things to do. And I stood around home plate with Smoke Lavelle and 2 grad assistants. And I said to them, listen, we got to fix this place up. Let's write it down. I'll make a list. And Smoke would say, let's get that new pitching rubber. And of course, the pitching rubber looked like this. You know.
And this is true, though, because other people, especially
right.
Smoke, had talked about this list.
Yeah, it's true. It's not
no secret.
And so Smoke said,
yeah.
let's get a pitching rubber. I says, you're right, of course, but let's get 6. You say. And then home plate was like this. I says, let's get 6 home plates. And let's big it up. Let's just think like you can have anything you want, say, and let's just big it up. And they looked at me like I was crazy. I had a booster group, you know, and I asked them first for a changing table for diapers for mothers in the women's restroom. And of course, they just couldn't believe what he was doing. And I said, you see, if mama can't come to a clean restroom, then nobody's coming to the game. So they, of course, got it, you know, and they just didn't know why. And of course, people would say, Bertram, you're 1 point down. Then I understood. They were football. That's all it was. And baseball's the only sport where you call it runs. And I said, they're not points, they're runs. Other people would say, hey, ref, you stink. And I said, they're not referees, they're umpires. And we tried to teach them, but I'll tell you the proudest moment that I have, and that I said Friday night, you know, is not only are we numerous with the largest crowds in history, and have done that for 20 years, but they're loud, but they don't have to be prompted by a scoreboard. They know when to yell and when something's wrong. You know, you can't fool these people. And most of all, the thing that I love the best is a 1-1 bowl game, and the other pitcher comes out in the 8th, and they just rise up and give him a standing ovation. Or some center fielder tumbles over and makes a sensational catch for the other team, and they rise up and give him a stand. See, that's a baseball crowd. See, most of the places you go, it's still kill them, bite them, you know, because they think it's a football game. And I'm so proud of our fans. And I had the best advantage of anybody at home field, better than Krzyzewski at Duke or Dean Smith at North Carolina. I had 7,000 people at the old box. Nobody had ever seen a crowd that big, and they were so close to you. They just wear down the opposition by the second day. And without saying anything bad, they just wear them down. On the other hand, I think that now Paul has that with 10 or even 11,000 yelling and screaming. And I think it showed in the second game of the Mississippi series when it got real tight. I think the fans just got their pitcher to throw balls, honest to God. And they made a switch, and then Rhymes hit a homer. And people don't realize what a difference it makes and why baseball is so much different than the other sports.
I got nothing. I got to go to break.
Well, then go ahead.
It's easy. I throw him a big softball. He takes it deep, and I say, "I'm Lee Feinswag. You're watching Sports 225, and we'll be right back."